Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering diversity getting destroyed. State probe is investigating a diversity boss for racism. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. This is an interesting story. So this author and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant recently wrote an article in Forbes. The Forbes article goes like this: 3 ways to decenter whiteness in your workplace. If that sounds offensive, it's because it is offensive. Unless you're pushing this reverse racism stuff, it's not something people expect to see, no matter what your skin color is. She and Forbes got a lot of negative pushback on this, and they've since updated their article to read 3 ways to transform your workplace to be more equitable. So now you know, basically to be more equitable, it's the same kind of racist code words. But that's not getting her out of trouble. She's now going to be subject to a probe in Ohio because of a senator. She didn't just make up this phrase either, decentering whiteness. This is the title of a book that she wrote, Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace. And in case you're wondering, yeah, it's tied in with solutions for people to contribute individually and systemically to anti-oppression, unless it's her and people who study her methods oppressing a certain specific race. That oppression is considered okay. Also, Decentering Whiteness in the Workplace provides a crucial guidebook with practical solutions for leaders, DEI practitioners, and anyone hoping to truly create an anti-racist workplace, which, if you know the code words, anti-racist basically means racist. From the Daily Mail, diversity, equity, and inclusion boss faces Ohio State probe after she wrote Forbes article about decentering whiteness in the workplace, and GOP lawmaker branded her as racist. A diversity, equity, and inclusion boss faces a state probe over an article she wrote in Forbes about decentering whiteness in the workplace. Janice Gassam Ascre was branded racist by Republican Senator J.D. Vance over her piece. J.D. Vance has now ordered a probe into whether Ascre and her consultancy, BWG Business Solutions, has ever been handed Ohio taxpayer cash. She probably has, because she does do consulting for diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the Forbes article, Ascre explores dismantling systems that prioritize white dominant culture to create a more inclusive workplace for people of color. She defines white centering as a phenomenon that elevates white culture at the expense of non-white groups, contributing to inequity and injustice within organizations. Quote, "It has been given many names, including the white gaze and whiteness as the default," she said. "Because white centering is often left unexamined and unchecked, equity and justice have continued to evade organizations." J.D. Vance strongly condemned the article, calling it racist and criticizing Forbes for publishing it. Quote, "I'm just done with this stuff. It's racist and gross. Forbes should be ashamed of themselves for publishing it," he wrote. The author is a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. "I've directed my staff to investigate whether her business receives any public money from Ohio." That's the state he represents. In response, Ascre claimed that Vance misunderstood the concept of decentering whiteness and offered to provide further clarification through her book on the subject. Vance, among many others, condemned the content and initiated an investigation into Ascre and whether her organization receives funding from Ohio. Others on Twitter, including public figures such as the Federalist editor-in-chief Molly Hemingway and fellow Federalist David Arsani, expressed disapproval of both the article and Forbes for promoting what they called anti-American sentiments and racism. Republican candidate Vivek Ramaswamy also chimed in, arguing against the idea of decentering whiteness by suggesting it equated to firing white individuals. He called it racism without the possibility of reverse racism. Another commented, abolition of DEI should be part of the anti-communist manifesto, written by a DEI consultant, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So of course it's going to be racist against whites, said another comment. A third user commented, why is racism against white people okay? Please explain. Ascre told Fox that Vance had no idea what he was talking about. Quote, I would say this, it's obvious that the senator has no idea what decentering whiteness actually means and how it's about this system of whiteness and not one white person or white people, she told Fox News Digital. This goes along, this decentering whiteness and all this, is to say that white people have no culture. That's what they say. And then they say that whiteness is an ideology, like a set of beliefs. So it's okay to change your identity and your ideology because it's not like it's a white people culture thing, according to her. It's that white people have no culture, and this is just a set of what they call racist beliefs. It's really sick. It's deeply evil. And let's hope we get this out of American society as quickly as we can before it creates more damage. Quote, I expound on what decentering whiteness is in the workplace means in my book of the same name, which I'm happy to send the senator or to anyone else that is confused. She's also speaking down to a senator saying that they are confused because they don't share her beliefs and her ideology, which obviously is brand new. It's Marxism, it's communism, it's un-American, and it's not how the country is run. An analysis of U.S.-listed companies' earnings calls revealed companies appear to be finally coming to the conclusion that going woke could mean going broke, or at least see their share price fall to uncomfortable levels. Many companies' diversity, equity, and inclusion departments have been scaled back or eliminated altogether. Top companies rushed to fund and build them up in the wake of George Floyd's death in May 2020, and the rush of racial justice protests that followed. An analysis of earnings calls has seen a sudden and rapid fall when it comes to firms mentioning the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion, green and social initiatives, or even the word sustainability in their quarterly calls to investors. Investors don't want to hear about this nonsense because investors understand that companies that spend time and money on issues like this are not contributing to making them a return on their investment. It doesn't work. I see multiple articles talking about the importance of diversity. I see very few even hinting that there's going to be any kind of return on investment. And then I'll do a search like I just did one recently talking about, well, what is the return on investment for diversity, equity, and inclusion? And these results are completely ridiculous. This one says that investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion, regardless the size of your company, can increase your revenue by up to 41%. Well, of course, that's nonsensical. And there are no examples of that you could say, yes, we did this diversity program, this decentering of whiteness and whatnot, and all of a sudden our revenues went up. Here's another person making that claim. Diversity, equity, and inclusion by the numbers, 19% higher revenue. So not the 41, but 19%. 25% greater profit and retention and attraction of team members. Wow, 25% more profit just by spending a little bit of money and attention on diversity, equity, and inclusion? No, of course not. Here's another claim. Why is DEI important in investing? So when you're making financial investments, companies in the top quartile for racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to have financial returns above their respective national industry medians. Gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to outperform their peers, and ethnically diverse companies are 35% more likely to do the same. So none of this actually is true. It's not accurate. You could do it, but it's not going to make more money for the company. If it did, the companies would be doing more and more and more and more of it because everyone likes to make more money. Here's the 3 ways that Ms. Ascre was suggesting that you could decenter whiteness in your organization. We'll just go to these top 3. 1, education. Despite the best laid plans of corporate America, DEI efforts haven't been as successful as anticipated. 2, objectivity. Within workplace cultures, there are values, norms, and mores that employees quickly adapt to. These learned behaviors guide our understanding and influence our actions. How often do we stop to interrogate what is considered normal in our workplace and what measures can be put in place so we can actively decenter white workplace norms? Well, I think most companies never do that because it's racist, it's nonsensical, and mostly companies are concerned with how they can take care of their customers, get a return on investment, and attract and retain their employees. And having a nonsensical let's decenter our whiteness program is not going to help the company. Of course, you need to have accountability. You need to have your rules enforced. Every employee should be responsible for the environment they are creating in the workplace, regardless of an employee's perceived productivity or performance. If they are causing racial harm, they must be held accountable for their actions. Accountability systems are a vital part of an organization's sustainability. In the workplace, a primary way that whiteness is centered is through the acceptance of racist workplace behaviors, such as centering whiteness. No, that's completely okay. Anything that goes against centering whiteness and pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's what's considered racist workplace behavior. Many employees who have experienced racial harm have reported a lack of accountability for their perpetrators. Cultivating systems to hold those who cause racial harm accountable can promote equity, prevent preferential treatment, and create a safer environment for all employees, which is why Ms. Ascre will probably start recommending that you create a small jail, not a big one, but a small jail at your company to hold anyone who does not decenter their whiteness quickly enough. I don't know if she's actually going to take things that far. That would just be my suggestion. And if I was on her team of how can we be tougher on accountability for decentering whiteness. Well, this young lady actually has a PhD. It doesn't mean she knows what she's talking about, but this trend will go out of style probably before too long. And at that point, after one senator, another senator, Congress, a few other lawsuits start coming through, she's going to have a hard time finding any work because this is absolutely ridiculous, nonsensical, racist garbage. Your company should not be decentering your whiteness. Your company should be focusing on treating everyone the same, giving you opportunity, respecting you for the work that you do, and compensating you and rewarding you for the work that you do. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.